It is March 18th, 2022, and I had done an earlier recording, but it didn't save for some reason. And so I was talking about a new two new occurrences of some strange um psychological phenomenon that exists within our society that I've never came across until I had moved back in with mother, basically. All right, from what I've perceived. I'm not the only one who would have obviously been able to probably, you know, decipher what I'm about to explain. But I've never seen this anywhere with the way other people used to hang out with or talk to. I never, even in school while growing up, never had observed this, and where it could actually be a they may have wanted my opinion to see if I would see it too, and a select number of people. Where the first unusual type of observation that I made was where, okay, here, first, there are people like this, I know this already, that there are elderly, chances are it's an elderly female out there, woman, where they would be telling, and I've seen this happen more than once, or this type of, I've seen it in movies, TV shows, in the real world, at, like dinner parties or something like that, potlucks, not necessarily a specific potluck or anything like that. And it had nothing, that was just the, example of a type of social event that this may occur somewhere. Okay. Where through a predictive analysis, based on the age, I'm within my 30s. Chances are a guy in their 30s would, there's a higher occurrence of them desiring to settle down eventually, whereas for the girls in their 30s, sometimes it's kind of like the guys when they're in their 20s, in their early 20s. And there is this probability type of thing that would probably could be done and proven with a vote type system where they'd click if this is where they've experienced this, or they have came across people in this type of situation, or this type of if they've ever observed or heard or overheard an elderly female giving advice to, this is common, this is very, very common, to a younger lady, female, in their, let's say, 30s, where the elderly one would say or suggest, you're too young to settle down with someone, right? And then you should go out and, have a great time with your girlfriends, arbitrarily pick and choose random dudes to connect with for a while, and then when you become old enough that you decide you want to settle down with someone, if that's even, or then that's when it would be probably a better time or something to do something like that. But then there's a guy like me, right, who's in his 30s. I'm younger. For some reason, I'm already bald, right? So I would be a good candidate for their experiment to make people where they would probably want to see or assume through a controlled study statistic. They rather risk someone's life who would have, let's say, $1 billion, possibly $1 trillion industry idea that he can't do it all on his own, but would be able to possibly do with, let's say, this girl that they're telling to, be more arbitrary with other dudes. You know what I'm saying? Possibly. I don't know. And then, or if they think that I would be able to assume that through, let's say, let's say if it was a computer program, right, that did like a statistic, and then like people voting whether or not, and then the probability, they'd say, oh yeah, well, through the lowest common denominator. That was one of the things, but your program didn't catch the fact that it's probably just your anxiety, and we're going to use you as a customer to try to push some anti-anxiety pharmaceutical drug advice onto you and stuff like that. Because she's actually genuinely happily married based on her own vote, and we are just trying to behave like a marital insurance policy on her behalf to protect her happiness with her partner, and from you drawing her attention as if you're a better choice, right? Yeah. Was that real? Was he really? Did he really have a blockage at that point? And, we better go check that one out then. Okay, that's part of their network too. So okay. So what happens? Like I was saying in a previous recording, it didn't really save for some reason. My Kindle just at the time it was plugged in, but there's something wrong with the power charger, and the battery died. But then I guess it was corrupt data on my Kindle. All right, so who's to know? Unless they can look into her house. I don't want that to happen, but I don't have anxiety like that. I don't even see that they would try to say, oh, then who was the one who did the prank call to the authorities for us to check in, look in her house to see whether or not she's in an abusive relationship, so that we know that we're not ensuring that they stick together, right? Even if they're not in an abusive relationship, that she has to be stuck with that dude and lose her chances with someone who has a $1 trillion, $1 trillion business idea that he can't do all on his own, but he could end up on the street otherwise. You see what I'm saying? Or something. It's worth the risk, right?